Hello, everyone. My name is Violet Du Feng. I'm the director and producer of a feature-length documentary called Hidden Letters. And with me today, it's my greatest honor to have Leona Lewis, who is actually our co-composer and vocal artist for our beautiful musical score. And Leona, it's so great to have you here today.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's just been so beautiful to be part of this with you, Violet. It's been amazing.
I hope you enjoyed the ride so far.
I have. It's been so fun and just so, meaningful to me, obviously, meeting you, seeing the story of these women, being part of the music. It's been such a great journey.
I think I know the answer, but I just can't help asking you, why did you decide to participate in this documentary? And as I understand, this is also the first film that you ever participated on this level as a co-composer. So yeah, why did you choose us? Why did you participate in our project?
Um, so I was shown a short kind of preview of the film by our friend James, who's also one of the producers. And immediately I was so drawn to the story of these women. I was drawn to their resilience and their strength. I love stories about strong women, that have been through something. And of course, drawn to the songs of Nushu. This is basically what I'm doing in modern day is taking my feelings and my emotions and my hurt, my pain, and I put them into song. And this is what those women did. And I just felt so connected to them.
It's kind of like surprising to know that earlier in the process, because these women come from a completely different cultural and language and everything. And you being you are able to find a way to connect to them and find it relevant. Yeah, and I also know that you also, dedicate yourself to do a lot of like work in terms of supporting women and children and things like that. And do you feel that in that kind of sense, this film kind of has that kind of resonance with you in the work that you also believe in, you're committed to do?
Yeah, I think that this film crosses so many boundaries, and it connects women globally. This isn't just a story about a certain, village. It resonates with everyone. And the sisterhood that they formed, I think, is so inspiring because this is the sisterhood that we all need, to
Absolutely.
further ourselves and to further as women. And in terms of working with women and working with children, especially since I had my little girl, it's just become so much more meaningful to me, of course, seeing my daughter now in the world and just wanting better for her. And it's sad, really, because I was thinking about it because, we see our daughters, and you have a daughter also, and we just want the best for them. We want to protect them and do everything we can for them. And sometimes it's hard to do that for ourselves, but it's easier for us
Absolutely.
to for a friend or for a daughter, for a sister, for a mother. So it's I've had a lot of reflection during this time also.
Yeah, I think that you were talking about this yesterday, and I think this inevitable guilt as a woman that we feel trying to fulfill all these roles. You as a singer, me as a filmmaker, and now as a mother, like how do we do it all and to do it well and not to let other people down and not to let ourselves down. So there's a lot of guilt in this, but like we don't really talk about that much of vulnerabilities, as women these days. So I think that Nushu kind of is a vehicle for us to acknowledge that it's okay. It's okay for us to be vulnerable. It's okay for us to be guilty, but it's important that we're all in this together.
Yeah, and it's important that we voice that, and that we voice those fears and those things that we're feeling, that sometimes we're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't say that, or maybe it's bad to feel this way. No, it's important for us to voice that to each other and to connect on, oh, okay, this person's feeling that way as well. I'm not alone. And I think that is what it's about. It's about not feeling alone. It's about not feeling isolated. It's about seeing someone and connecting with them on these things that you're feeling. I think it's just so important to have that. And these women that were writing Nushu, composing Nushu, they had that. That's how they found their voices. And it's just so important to all of us to have that voice.
And speaking of voice, I mean, you also, as an artist, as a singer, you also talk about your voice in music is also a form of protest, a form of survival. And I just find it's such like a deep connection here. Um, yeah, do you want to talk a little bit about how you envision music and
Yeah,
especially the music in this film as well?
yeah, the music, and I mean, I loved working with Chad. He's so incredible and just so nuanced in everything he does, you know. And so working with him was so beautiful. But for me, it's so funny. When I was younger, I had a period where I was really shy and, you know, I didn't want to talk much to anyone and just kind of was hiding away. But when I would sing, I really found my voice. And I think, again, the importance of having your voice and to feel like you can express yourself is just so important. That was so important for me as a child, and it helped me today, you know. And just using your voice to stand up for yourself, to express yourself again, is it's just how we make our mark in this world. It's how we know we're here, we're alive. This is my experience. And it's a beautiful thing to share that.
And I think that you and I also talked about in the past about, you know, like making this film is, of course, a form of our subversion, but both of us kind of also deal with an industry that's predominantly controlled by men, especially in early days. You know, for me, from coming from China, the film industry is also very much male dominant. So how are you as an artist breaking through that kind of confinement as a woman? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, and I guess we have similar experiences because we are both in quite a male-dominated industry. On my side, there are a lot of female incredible artists, but when you kind of draw back the curtain and see, okay, who's behind this, you know, especially executives and people in big positions of power, it's very imbalanced, you know, and it's very male dominated, very male heavy. And like in our discussion yesterday, and I was also talking about this to Chad, when I was younger and first making my way into music, there were no females around really. And the ones that were around, I really, you know, held on to them. You know, like my manager, Nicola, who you know, who I've worked with for years, who is amazing, and who was the person I would go to. And again, it's like having that sisterhood that I could talk to them, and it's someone that I could really relate to. And I just wish there were more even executives around that were female that could probably understand things in a different way, or at least, you know, there's just a balanced conversation to be had. um, and then when it comes to producers, I can count on one hand the amount of female producers I've worked with, and that's literally two people.
Mm.
And it's Linda Perry and someone I did another actually movie soundtrack with years ago, and that's it. And I've worked with tons and tons and tons of male producers, so there's such an imbalance, and I just feel like it's so important to we have to support women's voices or there's going to be this imbalance, and it kind you feel it on all levels. So yeah, just yeah, that's important.
How how do you how do you want the world to be different for your daughter? And
Oh,
do
that's
you
such
think
a
that do you think that this film can may also, because I'm also thinking about it that too. I mean, I made this film partially also for my daughter as well, and I constantly ask myself the question about how do I want the world to be different for her, and how can this film help to build kind of like a different kind of context for her. Yeah, so I'm like curious about what you're thinking in that question too.
It's so, you know what, since having my daughter, I've reflected so much on my relationships with the females around me, how much I value them, how much I valued the relationship with my grandmother, who taught me so many things, and mostly she was a very religious woman. So, she taught me about kindness and to love people and have compassion for people. And then to my mother, who taught me to have my voice and be strong and to speak my truth. And my friends around me, my female friends. But so often, especially in music, maybe more back in the day, but even now, like, women are very much pitted against each other. It's like this fight between each
Mm-hmm.
other. It's not a space for every woman. So we're made to think that there's not enough space. So we have to kind of clamber and it pits people against each other. When the reality is there is so much space for everyone. There's space for all of us. And there should be space for all of us. But again, when there's such an imbalance, it's like, oh, there's only this many places for a woman. So, like, are we going to fight each other to get there? And for my daughter, I want this camaraderie. I want us all to come together. I would love, this rivalry that we sometimes build up to just be gone, and that, yeah, that competitive, like, pitting women against each other. It's so dangerous. It's so toxic. And it's just opposite of what we need to be doing,
Which is
which is to come
sisterhood.
good and to come together. And that's what, yeah, I just hope that she grows up in a really strong sisterhood, and just in a world where we are, yeah, united and not trying to fight against each other.
And on that note, I really wish that my daughter and your daughter is gonna meet each other very soon in person. And ironically, they have the same name.
So yeah, so I call Carmel Coco. She has a nickname as well. So I didn't know that your daughter's name was Carmel, because obviously you have a nickname for her too. And it was just so crazy when you said that, and the fact that you named her Carmel for the same reason that I named my little one Carmel, because we both love that beach town, in California. So we're connected, in so many ways, which is so lovely.
It's such an honor to work with you, Leona, and I hope that our collaboration will continue and the friendship between us and our daughters is going to be viewed into a beautiful sisterhood as well. Thank you so much for speaking to me today. Thank you.